The following is brought to you by a generous donation from Canoe Place Inn and Cottages. Fine hospitality in Hampton Bays since 1697. More at canoeplace.com.
Cabin fever, I'm climbing the walls. Help me, somebody help me on.
Because you're stuck in a car or a house or a yurt anyway, this is our Cabin Fever edition of AirHamptons with Bridget and Bill. Lean in closer to the radio, and it feels even more claustrophobic. Welcome.
Boy,
well, it's March.
welcome. It is. That was quick.
That means madness. That means...
March Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for us, that
How are your
means-
teams doing so far?
Yeah, right. My teams, like I even know what that means. But I do know what cabin fever is. 'Cause,
I do,
boy,
too.
I just get that so much, and it's a real thing.
We are going to talk to people about it this hour, including a friend of yours.
Yeah, Nanci LaGarenne. She's a local author and personality, and she's going to talk about her favorite books. Because, I mean, what do you do when you have cabin fever? You read or you write, you journal. If you're,
You
if
should.
If you're not Jack Torrance, actually he did, but all he wrote was, "All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy."
And Inda.
And Inda Eaton, who is a legend of the music scene out here, a fantastic storyteller, and she'll talk about cabin fever as well. So that's going to be fun. And Patrick McLaughlin is back with us.
Yeah, he's going to talk about renting a cabin or selling a cabin.
That sounds good.
He's all about,
Because
he
it's
buys
a
and sells every piece of real estate in the Hamptons.
It's a very wide hole in our needle that you can get through on this show.
And finally, and we're going to talk about just how much drinking gets done during cabin fever. Paul Giamatti joins us from The Holdovers, one of my favorite movies of last year.
Movie.
And I hope gets some Oscar love this month. And he's going to talk about why he always plays drunks.
Yeah, he's good. Well, except for this is such a horrible thing to say because I saw The Holdovers when it came out. I immediately pegged him for Oscar. I was like, this is an incredible role. But no matter how incredible an actor he is, he will always, always, always be pig vomit to me.
From the Howard Stern show.
Private Parts.
Well, the Private Parts
movie. I know. And he's so brilliant. My husband was a holdover. Eric was a holdover. So when we saw that movie, it was really meaningful.
Oh, I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people know somebody who was, for anyone who doesn't know the synopsis of the movie, it's about those kids that are supposed to go home for the Christmas holiday, and then all of a sudden their parents call and go, we're doing something else. And,
or they just can't go. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Paul Giamatti's character babysits all these kids, and it's great.
It's
they are the
beautiful.
very definition of cabin fever, because here are the symptoms of cabin fever.
Oh, tell
you
me.
ready? Drum
Yes.
roll.
Oh, my gosh. How many of these
You
do
are
I have?
bored or stuck at home. Well, that's obvious. You have restlessness. You have decreased motivation. You're irritable. This is like this show.
I just called this Tuesday. Go ahead.
Hopelessness. Now it really is our show. Difficulty concentrating.
Oh, my gosh.
Irregular sleep patterns. Difficulty then waking up.
Oh, my gosh.
Lethargy. Oh, I can't even finish this list. No, distrust of people around you. Again, a perfect example of
Yes,
AirHamptons.
that's us.
And lack of patience.
God damn it. Bill, stop this list. It's enough of this list. Anyway.
Yeah,
will this list ever end?
So I guess it was a colloquial term, and now doctors actually have it as a diagnosis, and they can give you some kind of, as all big pharma is willing to do,
Right, but
they can give you something to take care of cabin
But
fever.
it reminds me of like a Charlie Chaplin movie, like Gold Rush or something like that, where you're stuck in a cabin, there's lots of snow outside or whatever, and then like you start seeing your compatriot as being like a large chicken leg. Or maybe that's just Looney Tunes. I don't know. But I think...
Does Eric look hungry? You look at him and your husband and think,
he would be a tasty meal.
That's a different movie called Snow of Society or something that's on Netflix right now. Do you know that movie?
No, is it about
It's
eating people?
outstanding, and it is.
It's
about that Andes, the soccer team that crashed in the
Alive.
Andes.
I remember reading that
Yeah,
book.
but Alive with Ethan Hawke was kind of the drive-in movie version of this story.
I didn't see the
Society
movie.
of the
I read
Snow
the
is
book.
quite excellent.
What is it called?
actually.
Society
of the Snow on Netflix.
Maybe we shouldn't be giving people ideas right now. It's March and
if
it's
they're
cabin
stuck
fever.
in their cabin, they need to,
They need to develop some kind of a
someone
hobby.
is looking at you too dearly, like maybe they're thinking, your dinner.
Yes.
No, okay.
Just something to liven things up a little
What's
bit
the old
around
joke
here.
about cards? Anyone can get good cards, but it takes a cannibal to cough up a good hand. You
Oh,
remember?
no.
You don't know that?
No, I like the two cannibals eating a clown, and one turns to the other and says, "Does this taste funny to you?"
Oh, man.
Anyway, boom.
We've taken a dark turn. By the way, something called the Discoverer blog has somehow determined where you should go in 2024 if you want to get out of your cabin. So this is where to travel based on your astrological sign.
Ooh.
Now let's see if
Well,
this.
I'm interested now.
So Aries, who are fearless by nature and leaders, want to go to Sedona, Arizona. If you are Aries, Taurus, Sonoma, California for luxury and comfort. Gemini, this is a bad shot for Gemini. Minneapolis, Minnesota. No,
Because
but
of
the Twin Cities.
No, I was going to say
guess
the Minnesota
Twin City.
Twins, but
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense at all. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure Minneapolis is lovely. I've never
Okay.
been there.
Right.
Cancer, Charleston, South Carolina. They are peaceful people and they like to be by the ocean.
Yes, they do.
Leo, Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, Leo, the sun.
Leos are the center of attention and they want to go to Vegas. Virgo,
I wouldn't know.
Yellowstone National Park, Montana, because they are planners that like a challenge.
Very detail oriented.
Libra,
That's me.
Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, that's nice. I
You
like
are
Savannah.
romantic.
Yeah.
Romance, Savannah, Georgia.
I am. Yeah.
So go down at midnight, stand near a garden of good and evil, and
Absolutely.
be romantic.
And look like that little girl of Fountain statue.
Scorpio is Bar Harbor, Maine, because you like seclusions and hideaways.
Okay.
Again, this is from the Discoverer blog, so it's their opinion.
Okay.
Sagittarius is Kauai, Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see
They
that,
love
I
new
guess.
places.
Yeah.
Capricorn is this is you're not going to like if you're Capricorn. I'm sorry. Maybe you will. Ketchikan, Alaska, because you're independent and self-confident, and you want to see Russia from there. According to
The goat.
According
The
to
capricious Capricorn.
The-
and then Aquarius.
And finally, Aquarius
my
is
husband.
Marfa, Texas.
Get out. Why?
Mrs. McCuddy is an Aquarian because you have a quirky personality and
What's
you
her
want to go to
birthday?
Marfa.
What's her birthday? I put you on the
It's
spot.
at the end of January.
End of January. Okay, yeah, Eric is February 2nd, Groundhog Day.
I just realized this list does not have Pisces on it, which is what I am.
No,
I'm
it
a
doesn't.
Pisces.
You cut Pisces off of that.
Why did I do that?
I don't
Where
know.
would I go? Where would I want to go?
Well,
By
I
the
don't
sea,
think it would be
guess.
Ketchikan, Alaska or whatever. Oh,
No.
my goodness.
By the way, at the end of the show, when we talk about drinking, Time Magazine's top 10 drunkest holidays,
Oh, cool. And
which
then,
will set up the lovely Paul Giamatti.
yeah, but let's go
in
to
the
our
meantime,
first guest,
yes.
who is Nanci LaGarenne, an old friend of mine. She's written at least 3 books. She's been writing for a long time, and she's here to talk about cabin fever and being an author and all that stuff. So please welcome Nanci LaGarenne. Hi.
Hi,
It's
nice to be here.
Good to have you. Know what I love is that Nanci always calls me, her nickname for me is Chicken, because I used to own chickens, I think, and I just love that for some reason. It's a really nice,
congratulations.
I love that. It's very affectionate and
It's a
cute.
term of endearment. Actually, my Irish friend called everybody chicken if she liked them, so that's where I got it. But
So I-
then you had chicken, so it was appropriate.
Yes, I love that. That's great. So you have
Back to
a
the
new-
cannibal thing.
Okay, so your latest book is Scapegoat, and this has to do with Alcatraz.
It does.
So how did you get interested? You're a local girl, I should say. I mean, you're from East Hampton. I mean, you've been living here for many, many years.
Yes.
And that's what I mean. You never say from unless
Right,
you were
'cause-
born here. I
right,
get it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that. Is that true?
oh god,
Oh, yeah. And don't say you're
makes
really
sense, but,
local because you're not
You're
really
not local.
either.
no, you can't say that.
Well,
You're from away.
transplants, yeah, from
Remember
away.
Lona Rubinstein's book was From
Yes, From
Away,
Away.
right? Remember that? So that's Scott Rubinstein's mom from Clubhouse. But yeah, so Scapegoat is about, again, this good cabin fever thing because it's about escaping from prison.
And the main character escapes to an old logging cabin
Right.
in the Oakland Hills.
And then there he is besieged by the spirits of others. This is really fascinating. How did you even come up with an idea for this, living
My
in,
younger son lives in San Francisco.
Okay.
And so we were out there visiting, and we did the whole tour and went to Alcatraz, took the boat over. And I had never been there, never been to San Francisco. I was fascinated with the island. What fascinated me most about it, I mean, the prison is very eerie. It's very old. I don't even think there's tours anymore. So you go through, and they give you headphones, and you do your own tour. You walk through, and it's kind of, I got this feeling like a lot of bad things happened there, which they
Yeah.
had very bad criminals there. This character in the book, who is a real person. So the book is based on the escape in 1962 of the 3 inmates that were
Right.
never found. So
Yeah.
it's still a cold case.
Now, is that the movie that
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood made called Escape from Alcatraz? Is Frank, he was one of the 3?
Frank Lee Morris.
Right.
That's my main character, but he has so in
Bless you.
my book, He has.
We're live and we prove it every day.
Yes,
That was
we
Jim
do.
Turner sneezing a song. Apparently about either that or he is having perhaps a criminal past, allergic to stories about jail.
Or
never
spring
know.
allergies. You know, it is
never
March. So, yes.
Sorry, so this
So,
is
yes,
a real
so
guy.
This real guy and two brothers called the Anglins were the escapees. True story.
Now, do you suppose that all three of them in the book, which I haven't read,
Yes.
have survived?
Yes, all
Okay.
three have in my mind, because when I went there, it was fascinating it was a kind of an eerie place, but also that it's an island, but you can see San Francisco, so it's not impossible. The Navy SEALs have done the swim, so it's possible.
That I didn't know, actually. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And
because
on this particular night, so I was fascinated with that they could escape. How could they get there? What was the weather like? Because as we know, the famous Mark Twain quote about the coldest winter I ever spent was the summer in San Francisco.
Right, yeah.
So there was a heat wave in 1962 on June 11th. And there was also a quarter moon, which created what's called a neap tide, which was going to be the title, but that didn't sound very good or anybody would know what it meant or how to say it. So the neap tide slows the current down. And with
interesting.
with these
'Cause they
three
always said the
things-
current would move too quickly for anybody to
Yes.
swim all the way to San Francisco.
But this slowed the current down. So then I also found out that all swimmers of any channels, waterways, try to do their swims in neap tides because
Wow.
of this slowing down of the current. So with the heat wave, the current slowing down, and this quarter moon, like a perfect storm of it's even
Feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feasibility.
right,
Yeah,
probable. So, and then they made these rafts, and so what the prison said, what everyone said, the newspapers, is that they didn't make it because they found the rafts. In my story, they purposely just
Let them
dropped them
go.
and they went towards Angel Island. So they figured they then drifted out to sea and they never found any bodies. So they just assumed it also made them look good because they couldn't find them.
Right,
So,
right. So, like, oh, they're dead.
Yeah.
We did our job.
And where
Case
would they
closed.
go? They weren't obviously going to go wandering around. They had to split up because there were three of them. It made no sense to stay together. And he was a loner to begin with.
Frank
He was
Lee
sort of the
Morris.
brains of the operation. But the others went, in my book, somewhere north, off the grid. Now, don't forget, it's 1962. There's no social media. There's no
grid.
there's no
Yeah.
grid. Yeah, really, off the grid. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
go disappear. It's also the 60s.
Right.
So there's, hippies
Communes
and
and-
there's
right.
communes
They can
and there's
blend
all
in.
kinds of things going on.
Yeah.
So,
Drifters, they were just
drifters,
sort of
pilgrims. And so he took on the persona grew out his hair and a beard, and he became this, drifter looking to find himself. But then his kind of identity, if he had to tell anyone, was he was a teacher that was on sabbatical, like from the East Coast.
And he holds up in a cabin.
Yeah, and he was originally from D.C. That's where he grew up as an orphan. He was in foster homes, and then
Did you have to I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but did you have to check with anybody before you wrote about him, or was it kind of public
Is
domain?
he in the public
a
domain
sense?
because he was a...
I have not found anything, and I did a lot of research. I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
And
So if the family is listening and wants to sue, you're
or
available.
want to say
My
thank you.
lawyer.
Hey,
or want to
speaking of
say
holed up in
thank you.
speaking of holed up in a cabin, what is your process for writing? Do you have
Yeah.
a time of day when you sit and do it? Are you more productive in the winter months when there's less to go outside and do, or do you have a kind of discipline that does it all year long?
So I love the winter because I'm a hibernator, and I have to be reminded to go outside and join.
We're lucky you're here.
Join the public. For Bridget, I'm here, and
Aw.
now for you too.
Love you too.
But when I wasn't working, when I stopped working, so right now I'm sort of, I guess you could say, retired from my other jobs. I've done lots of things. I was a freelance writer for dance papers. I worked at the retreat. I was staff there and worked with the kids and
Women.
the women who were abused. I've had lots of jobs. Not careers per se. I always wanted to be a writer, but that coming from Brooklyn and with very blue-collar parents, that wasn't sensible. I should be a teacher. I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. You had to be a teacher or a nurse or get married and have kids and
Or escape from Alcatraz?
or escape from Alcatraz, yes.
Yeah.
So that fascinated me, and I thought they could do this. And my husband thought it was a great idea that they would escape. His idea was, oh, you should write this book, Nanci, and then you should say that they all get back together and they go visit the island. So we're on the boat, and I said, no, they would never go back to that island
Yeah.
after escaping. There's not even for a
Maybe as
lark or,
ghosts.
yeah.
but,
So then I started writing the book. He read some of it and said, "But what's with the ghosts?" And I'm like, "Ghosts? Yeah, this is my book. Like I can't write what you asked me to write, or thanks for the idea, but
Right.
you sort of." So my process is sort of
Punched it up.
Yeah.
punched it up, and he said, "I don't know that people want to read about ghosts," and I'm going, "No, everyone wants to read about ghosts.
Well,
Ghosts
can I
are
ask-
in."
This guy seems wrong for you.
That's another book.
Right.
No, I'm teasing.
Go back to the cannibalism. No.
Are you self-published?
I am.
But
we,
that's
we now
more
call
and
it indie because it sounds a little more edgy and kind of like my older son that lives here said, why are indie bands cool but not indie writers? And I'm like, yeah, why don't you, start talking that up? Like, why not? And because it's kind of the same thing. You've got to start small and you've got to play in a bar or play in a coffee house. I have a friend who performs and it's like, yeah, it's not easy. I tried the traditional route. Someone suggested an agent. I was very grateful for that. He sent out my first book. It wasn't picked up, and then not Cheap Fish. I wrote something that I didn't publish.
You have a total of how many books at this point?
So this is my fourth, and I'm writing my fifth.
Was there's Cheap Fish, The Bitter End,
Refuge in the middle, which was about
Right.
domestic violence, and a novel, but inspirational about women surviving all kinds of abuse and forming like a family of their own. So my son says there's indie bands. Why can't there be indie writers? Why isn't that a cool
Really good
thing?
point.
And I
Yeah,
think,
that is.
Why not?
That's great. So it can be rebranded that way.
Yes.
That's great. So The Bitter End was about Montauk, yeah? That was
Yeah,
about
so that's actually a sequel to Cheap Fish.
right.
And
That's
people
so-
really liked it. So they said, what about a sequel? And I thought, yeah, I can go back there. And Montauk is full of material.
It sure is.
I love it. And so, yeah, that was well received.
So you're a hibernator that likes to write this time of the year, and you also began later in life, which I think
Yes.
is one of the most encouraging messages for people listening. That listen to your heart. If you want to write, and writers write. You just have to sit down and start doing it.
Exactly. I am a late bloomer, as my sister likes to say, and there's nothing wrong with that. Life can get in the way. I had kids early, so me going out and, finding myself or going to journalism school or college was not in the cards for me, but here I am doing it now, and I think it's even better because I was more focused. I had more time to do it. I was still working when I started, so my process was writing in my free time, but I really have to say when I was able to do it and really have all the time to do that and focus. I'm really super disciplined to be at home, like to write. When I'm writing, I'm not doing other stuff like talking on the phone or, going on Facebook. So for me, that was perfect, and that's when things started to happen. And a good friend of mine, TJ Clementi,
TJ.
has a couple of books himself. We both were writing for Dan's papers, and then I'm a crazy letter writer to the Star, and he said, why don't you get paid for writing, and why don't you work at Dan's papers? And I said, that's the concept. Because the thing about indie writers, I mean, even if it is cool, we're not getting paid. Like
Yeah,
Right.
we
we
get
have to
it.
pay to get it published. We have to pay for the books. Everyone wants free books, and I give a lot out, and I'm happy they're just reading them, but we have to pay for them.
Of course,
So,
of course. Oh, I'm
yeah.
always so impressed when I hear about people who have who can sit down and write. Because,
Since we're
yeah.
talking about sitting down and writing, and Cabin Fever is about being stuck, what do you do when you're stuck in front of a blank page? Do you have an exercise or anything for writer's block, or is that not a thing for you?
It's not a big thing for me, but it can happen. Or I don't know where the story's going, or the story takes a turn, and I don't know what the next chapter's going to be.
So you
then
don't
I
do a
walk-
complete outline and know
No,
where
I'm
the
not an
story's going?
outliner.
It lets it,
yeah,
it takes its own course.
It takes its own
Wow,
course.
that's so cool.
I used to write longhand until, and the nuns would be appalled at this. So my penmanship is awful now. So I couldn't read my notes, and nobody else knew what I was writing. So
Right.
it was time to get on the laptop. And
Should have been a doctor.
Nanci, it's been so wonderful to have this time with you and to talk about your books. And Scapegoat is the latest. Where can people pick it up?
It's at Hampton, I'm happy to say.
Great.
I might do something at Barnes & Noble in the spring, hopefully.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we have a
And they'll
Barnes and
carry
Noble
it.
in the Hamptons.
I
now.
know, so I'm sure you'll be there in
Yeah.
the next few months, I
The
imagine.
local bookshops have been great to me.
That's
yeah.
wonderful.
And, indie bookstores, indie writers.
They still exist, and that's
Yeah.
important. And I love the idea that Scapegoat could be a movie that sort of picks up where the Clint Eastwood film stops and
Yes.
tells us what happened.
Escape
like
from
the way you're
Alcatraz.
thinking. So yeah.
The
We want 10%.
21st century edition. Thanks, Nanci. It's been so
Thank
great
you for
having you on.
having me.
Love it. And yeah, it's been great to have you. Cabin Fever music, Jim Turner.
With a ghosty kind of, I don't know. Hey, the thermometer may say 98.6, but you are still aching to get out of here. We know the feeling. It's Cabin Fever Day on AirHamptons with Bridget and Bill. We've never felt closer or more nauseated.
Well, that's not very nice. So happy you're here.
So
Hey,
happy to be
Inda,
here.
let me hear you say, cabin fever?
Cabin Fever! I think we owe Eli Roth money now. He wrote the movie Cabin Fever. That's Jim Turner, our one-man band. As we said, this is AirHamptons with Bridget and Bill, if you've just joined us. We were talking about writing, and now we're pivoting a little.
Well, not really.
Yeah,
No, you
a
can
little
say
bit.
it, pivot, just because, but pivot's a word that's been overused. Don't say pivot. We have the most incredible, wonderful person that I'm so thrilled to be face-to-face with again after such an incredibly long time. Inda Eaton, legend of the stage. Out
It's
of
just good to see you guys. And
Yeah.
I'm digging the whole Cat Ballou deal. Yeah.
Baloo.
and nobody does
Our
that like
one-man
Jim.
house
No,
band.
honest to God.
Yeah.
Jim can riff anywhere.
He's a riffer.
He is great.
We
So
watch the riffer run. That's what we do here
I got it.
every month.
Well, I'm glad to be here and check this out. I've seen some of the segments and, of course, follow on social. So I'm glad to be down here where the action
Well,
happens.
we're sorry about that. It'll get better.
no, it won't. It won't. This is as good as it gets, unfortunately. It's been a really fun. It's been fun. We've been doing this for over a year now.
We have.
Well
We're
into
stuck
it.
here, apropos of our theme.
Cabin Fever.
And we can't get out.
No, we
We're
can't.
stuck at LTV and on WLIW. We thank them both for having us. And Sun TV in Southampton.
CTV. I think it's CTV or Sun TV. Well,
We're in
thanks
Canada
to the
now?
Sea and Sun. I don't know.
Well, so is Cabin Fever the perpetual theme, or is it, or just?
No, that's
Just
just
for
this
March.
month.
Just
for
for this
March.
month.
March.
Yeah,
Oh,
March.
so
The
we're in
madness of
March.
March.
March
Yes,
Madness.
and March
Cabin Fever.
Madness,
Okay.
exactly. But I equate you always with like wide open spaces. I think of you being like the cowgirl, the cow woman. I don't want to call you a girl, but the cow
The
woman.
cow woman. I think.
Congratulations.
Well,
by
I
the way.
think
sounds
it's, I
so
think
much
let's just
worse.
stick with cowgirl. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So, how do you respond to like, the weather
that
being
kind of
the,
a compliment.
No, let's just forget that I said that.
Cow person.
We'll fix it. in
Cow
post.
person,
We'll-
Jim
cow
Turner says.
person.
Yeah. And
The
he's
cow
working on a song.
And yes, and
You're a person,
yes,
you're
we'll
a
fix it in post. I apologize,
person.
but so seriously though, how do you respond to feeling trapped? Do you, because I know like one of your albums is called Shelter in
Well,
Place.
I mean, who does well to being trapped? I mean, I feel like I've gone into that situation in my writing too, in terms of the whole mating in captivity, and I know I just stole that from. Do you say it, Esther Perel? I don't know how we say her name. She wrote the book Mating in Captivity.
Mating in
Do
Captivity.
you know her
No.
work?
No.
Great TED Talk book. She's on the New York Times, and that was her main situation. Her book Mating in Captivity, which launched her on the TED Talks. And I must have watched that TED Talk 20 times.
And it's about about
Well,
being
it's
stuck
talking about
together.
relationships, and it's talking. Well, that is the name of the
Right.
book, Mating in Captivity, and just talking about how when we are so on top of each other, not good. You know, we
No.
need that space. We need.
For the record, we've never made it. And we're just
Wow.
co-hosts.
Well,
Why
in a
did
way,
you
we
even-
all are.
But we're
In a way,
stuck here in
I
captivity.
mean,
Why
we
did
need
you
this
even
space.
feel you needed to explain that? We're both married.
Legal department said we have
Well, you
to
make
be
a beautiful
clear about
couple,
these
and
things.
so that you're the on-air couple.
We're a TV couple.
We
You are a
radio
TV couple. So I do think I agree. However, people have said, I think being on top of each other and being stuck on top of yourself, I think that's a little oppressive. I don't do my best creative work in that situation.
Really?
But it's funny because there were people like during the pandemic, like for example, my stepsister Emma Walton. She loves not leaving the house. Loves it. If she's listening,
Well, I didn't
she'll
say
know.
that. I love not leaving the house too, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's that balance. It's you just like in a relationship. I think you get a little too much of yourself. You need to go switch it up a little bit.
But you wouldn't think that you don't agree that in desperation we sometimes are our most creative, that we don't come up with when we have a deadline or we're in a corner or we're supposed to get something done, that's when the creative spark has to happen?
Not for me.
Well, Bridget, you've got energy to burn. I was just watching. I'm like, oh my God. I remember some conversation we had 3 years before. We all went dark in the rapture, and you just have beautiful energy to burn.
Oh,
you
thank
really
you.
do. You must get like 20 things done a day.
Oh God, no, not at all.
Could
20
you
the
bring
wrong
that to the
thing.
show, please?
I'm sorry, I'm getting a compliment. I don't get them from you, for God's sakes. It's nice
I'm not
thank you,
surprised that
Inda.
she had a nice compliment for you after you called her a cowpoke or whatever that was.
Cow woman.
Cow woman.
She called me a cow.
I called you a cow woman.
I don't know. I don't think I did my most creative work in that rapture period.
Yeah.
I think the silence is beneficial, but I wasn't. Maybe things were gestating, maybe things were blooming, but I think I was so preoccupied with the existential crisis that we were all on. I don't really know if.
So what's going
was
on
so
now?
creative.
So now that
You're out and performing, and
Yeah.
You know, Ish. I'm just going to throw it out here. I just got shellacked by that. The whole rapture shellacked me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like I was in a nice stride. I was in the middle of some great projects and projects that had to do with people and people getting together and collaborations. And when that went dark, that was tough.
Yeah.
And I feel like the performance side, not the writing side, but the performance side has been the last to come back on.
Right.
And while we do go out and we do have performances and we do have people, and we're all gathering, I'm still hearing energy of people bargaining about, well, I don't do that now. I don't like to go into closed spaces. And of course, it really peaks up during these like flu seasons, cold seasons, the winter seasons.
Yeah.
we're back in the cabin.
Yeah,
I think
we
so.
are.
We're in the so.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been difficult for. I know I've had a struggle of my own coming out of the cabin.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, but
You're
that's-
here.
Well, and when Bridget reached out, maybe I'm giving it all away. I just had my hip replaced there, and I thought, I don't want to leave. Are you kidding me? But I thought it'll be good. We'll get slapped up,
Yeah.
come out of the house a little bit, and like put that on the calendar, and let's just go and get some energy.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
hipper. You're here and you're hipper. That's the important
go.
thing.
But I'm really curious about this. I just want to take it down this road a little bit because you're talking about the performances coming back, and you know there are people that I just think of, and I just like think East End music, and you're
Right.
one of them. Inda Eaton, of course, Nanci Atlas, Gene Casey, the Hoodoo Loungers. I mean, I'm sure I'm leaving people out. The Sarah Conway. There are people that just kind of like
Right.
do the rounds, and they're all Jim Turner's.
Well,
like,
what about
me?
Hey,
What
come
about
on.
me? Exactly.
He can put a wig
and
on.
There's more. There's many, many, many more that I'm not touching on. But do you feel like this year is going to be a year where it all kind of picks back up, or
Well, I think it has
the game
picked up.
changed?
I think it has picked up, and I think it's about what you do. And I think Jim would agree. Out in the summer, there's a ton of music, and that never
Oh,
has.
and Lynn Blumenfeld, I can't leave out my
Well,
friend
right,
Lenny.
Lynn Blue, right?
Right.
In the summer, people go out, and I don't think that ever changes. And that's a type of I call it like we're like party music. We're out there, we're having a good old time,
Right.
and in a way. The music's a character in that, but we're part of the sun. We're part of being out with our friends.
Yeah.
I think the type of music that is indoor and we're listening, that's not so much of a summer deal. And frankly, who really wants to go deep indoors in the summer?
No.
You want to be outdoors. And the kind of music that I do with my storytelling and the work I do, lately it hasn't been so outdoorsy. Let's all have a hoo-ha. We do have a hoo-ha, but it really
have
I
a
love a good hoo-ha.
who doesn't love a good hoo-ha? But I feel like the work I've done lately really requires that we come on, sit down, get involved with it in a different way.
That's
And
interesting. Do you think that's also? Do you think that's because of the rapture, as you keep calling it, or do you think that's also just?
I think that's how I've always been.
maturation, yeah.
No, I think that for me, that's how I've been. I'm a storyteller in my shows. There's always a beginning, middle, and
Yeah.
an end. There's always a story. And those stories.
Take a clue from that page. We should, like,
Well, you've done
we
very.
should think through
You've
this all
done well
through.
for yourself. I really wouldn't worry about that. You're doing good with that.
Are you having less fun after the COVID, after Rapture, than you did before so far?
I think
Are
the
you
fun's
waiting
coming
for
back.
to
It
kick
wasn't
in?
that fun. It's been serious.
Yeah, it has.
And the truth is, we're laughing about it in the hallway here. 2023, I don't think anybody was hanging on to that one. It's like that was a bummer. And then you thought the year before was a bummer, and you
Yeah.
thought that it's been a period, and you
yeah.
can't deny it.
Right.
And there's just some times where you're not compelled to dance on the table. It's just the truth. It's just, I don't care what art form you
Inda.
have. There's
See, I was
just
feeling good about everything until now.
No,
I
well,
don't
maybe
mean
you
it.
had a good
I
year,
don't
but
mean it in a
understand.
Debbie. I don't mean it in a downer way.
No, I understand
There-
what you mean. It's like it's when you look back on it's been an
It's
era.
an era. It's an era, and music. The kind of storytelling in music is so multi-layered. It's so deep in that the music itself, even without the words, even without whatever intention you wrote or whatever we take, it's like silent storytelling. It's taking you on a journey anyway.
Right.
And we always need that. But the truth is, sometimes that's not like dance on the table, let's have a party, who let the dogs out. That's just the truth.
Right. No, you have songs that are wonderfully evocative of like leaving behind and looking forward. A lot of your songs to me
Well, I know,
are about
well,
leaving
they're
something
yearning.
in the back.
They're
lot
what
of
we
yearning.
they're what we call hoo-ha friendly.
Well, do you know, on that line, most people when they're having a down day and the classic in the West, they're going to go to the bar because their dog passed away and their partner left them.
Yeah.
They are not going to go to the jukebox and fill it full of quarters of Who Let the Dogs Out. They're
No.
going to put the blues on. That's
course.
just the truth.
Right.
And somehow that makes them feel better. And I'll never totally understand that, but I can tell you, if you're having a bad day, you don't go to put on the disco music.
No.
No.
Maybe a power ballad, perhaps.
You get murky and you sit down there and you focus on the blues and the deep country and the wailing and the
Gloria
keening.
Gaynor, I Will Survive.
That's always a party trick.
Yeah. Or angry. I think of like angry female music sometimes will really get me through a bad day. Something like Pink.
Hey,
something like
COVID or no COVID, were you always more depressed in the dark times, and what, like a month like March is more of a down period for you?
Well, I don't
Depressed
think
is
I'm a
the wrong word.
depressor.
Yeah.
But and first of all, I'm born in March. I'm an Ides of March baby, and so
What day?
March, I'm the 15th. Ides of March, right there.
that.
March 7th.
There you go. So
And
We
and
swim
Patrick
together.
McLaughlin, who's going to
See,
be coming on,
Patrick's
also
coming
March
up
7th.
March 7th.
Got a room full of Pisces
well,
up in here.
beyond being
We're
a
going to
Pisces,
take over.
Well, beyond being a Pisces, which is a good thing, as you come through the, kind of driving through Nebraska, I feel like driving through, February and into March is like, you just got to get through Nebraska. And for me, beyond that in general, my birthday's in March, so it's like, okay, there's another reason to get a piñata. And I've always just gone with that.
I love that. So that's great. So you have something like
Eat a small animal,
touchstone.
even if it's just confetti.
Beat a small animal, even if it's just
honey,
confetti.
it's all about what's in that piñata.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, dancing on the table, get the piñata, the hoo-ha, and I don't sit there going, and I do my best to be in the now, but you can't help it. There's something coming forward. So I feel like March is that time to say, there's another reason to bake a cake. And if that's all we get is a cake.
I have to say
No,
that
I
if
like your next song being What's in Your Piñata. I think that's your next song.
Piñata. But if you started a ministry of some kind, I would totally sign up. I'd be in the front row going, hallelujah! Preach, sister, preach!
God love you. Maybe that is going to be the thing. We're going to have a little ministry.
Yes, a rapture,
Well, actually,
post-rapture.
the truth is,
What?
and Jim will say the same thing. In music, we are a ministry
Yeah.
because we don't just get the banter. We also have the choir. We are the choir.
Yeah.
We are the Cat Ballou. We are the message. So in a way, we are a ministry already.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, but if people want to experience your music, if they haven't been lucky enough, you have a website.
Well, we got the website, IndaEaton.com.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm working on a one-woman show.
You are?
And I would differentiate.
Who's in it? Okay,
Well,
sorry.
Don't you worry about that. We're hiring.
He's a smart ass.
Don't
Go
you
ahead.
worry.
No,
It's
I
okay.
meant other people. I know you're going to be.
Do you know
I
there
was
could be,
teasing.
and there might be other characters in it, but it's not that I haven't done solo shows.
Yeah.
That's how I came up in this business. There's a difference, though. I'm making it in my mind a distinction between a solo show and
A one-woman
real
show.
thought through beginning, middle, and end. Which all of my shows have that, but this is a one-woman show,
Right.
where it doesn't mean that we may not have other musicianship in there,
Right.
but I'm thinking it through on the writing first, and then as the story and filling in the music, kind of a little more iterative than just saying I'm going to do a solo show.
Right. No, that's great. So it would be like a little monologue as well. Like,
Ish.
storytelling.
Will it
is
deal
what
with the
you-
rapture coming through it and the
Well,
time
don't you?
that?
Well, I don't know if we're through it, but but I mean, the rapture is upon us.
Yeah.
And I know it just is. You talk to people, and I saw this op-ed last week or whenever the hell I saw it. This woman's talking about how, she kept waiting for the banner to say, well, the rapture's over, this period's over, and it never happened. It's just like there was no banner. And again, we're all looking for a cake and a banner and a piñata, and there wasn't one.
Right.
It was
I just want to make sure. I just want to interject that if people are just tuning in, when you say rapture, you're actually talking about the pandemic. You called it like the rapture because
I
people
called it
disappear.
from the get-go.
Right,
It had all
right.
those tones.
I just don't want people
tones
turning on and
tones.
being like, "Oh my God, it's a religious show. I'm on the wrong channel." No,
Oh,
no.
no.
No, you're on the right channel.
No,
This
you're
is
on the right
correct-
channel.
Yeah, we're on the right channel.
So I feel like it's just later in this era,
Yeah.
and
exactly.
and like all of us, just trying to find our footing of what we're going to do to go be of use and do our art and get out there and make our difference.
It was collective trauma. I mean, on the basest level. I mean, we all experienced this moment of like being shut in and not being able to do the things. I mean, Disney World closing, Broadway closing. I mean, it was a shock.
And there's
for us.
and I
It was
guess what I'm saying is
collective
beyond
shock.
all that, which we've gone through a gajillion times. I guess
Right.
what I'm saying is there's a hangover. Okay,
Yes,
there's
that's
a
what I mean.
spiritual hangover to that.
Yeah.
There was no, the
wasn't
good
like,
days.
okay, it's over.
Yes, and
Right.
we're all in this daze, and everybody's left to their own. After we're sitting there glued to how we're all going to deal collectively, everybody just left to their own of how they're going forward.
Right.
And I don't think there's a person out there from going to get your teeth cleaned
Right.
out to the grocery store who isn't feeling, well, now what am I doing in going forward in a different way? That's things are just a little different.
It's like you
So-
want a slate, like you want, like, you know how they go like, okay, take two, click,
Yes.
and they do that. Like, it's
Right.
over, click, and we haven't had that.
So
We
what
may
is
never
that? So
have
the
The
that.
question
giant
is
retake.
the retake.
Right.
So the question is then collectively, what does that mean to our creativity? And I think it's just a bonanza. It's just been hard to harness that in the past. It's now open to me like Pandora's box of the stories and the energy that's there to harness for that.
There's a lot in your Pandora's box, I can tell. And
Well, there always has been.
What's the timeline now for the solo show, for the one-woman show?
I think there's going to be some dates this spring for sure.
Yeah.
Does
And
it have a working title yet?
well, I'm thinking right now, just for me, it's called Under the Influence of Wyoming. And it's kind of how I'm.
That says cowgirl. I got to be
Well,
honest.
I've been doing. I didn't realize
Cowwoman.
that. You work on themes and you don't know them.
Yeah.
I've been working forever on this theme of East meets West. I'm from the West. I live in the East.
Right.
That's a theme that I didn't even kind of tune into till I did, and I think there's. The tradition where maybe you don't even live in it, but you write about your homeland.
Yeah.
I feel like that's become more apparent to me. It's a great device.
Yeah.
East meets West, but stay out of Nebraska.
Have you
Or just drive through it.
well, you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about. That's
I've
a
literally,
long state.
I've literally cried. Not just Nebraska. There's another one. I can't remember which one it is.
Well,
Maybe
Texas,
Indiana.
it depends. Texas.
Texas is all
If you're not
day.
up at the handle, the Texas is another
all
one.
day.
But Nebraska.
Yeah, there's one where it's just like you're at like exit 108. You're like, well, we got to be almost there, and then you're
And
like,
you're not.
no, you're not almost there.
And isn't that a great metaphor? We're driving through, we're on an exit, and we think we're where, and we don't even know where we came from or where we're going. And so you would love to think that as writers and creatives, that's just the greatest thing. But when you don't have context and you're all upside down, it takes a minute to tease out. The world that was before is now gone, and so we're going into this new world. And what is the story?
It's like the first time you drive to the Hamptons from the city. Exit 30 is called East Hampton Boulevard, and you think you're there, and you're not.
Is that right?
You've got 40 more exits.
40 more exits.
Then you get to
Jeez.
Manorville, and you go, this must be it. It's got Manor in the name.
Right.
No.
No, 'cause there's no
Now
Manors
you're
in
driving.
That is a reality show too. Is like we don't even need to do a Knowles course. We'll just drive people out here for the first time and just see how they do.
West Hampton, I'm here. No, keep
No,
driving.
keep- that's not it.
Hampton Bays, no.
That's
no.
a
It's
reality
nice.
show. We're
They've
taking
got-
you for the first time. Yep, and we're going to pronounce names in the Native American situation, and we'll just get it all going.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh. And it's so great having you on. What are some thoughts you might have about the upcoming season or summer? What are some of the things you're looking forward to? We've talked about the past. Let's focus
Well,
on
that's
the future
just
a little
it. I feel I am totally fired up. I just haven't had my creative. Somehow my synapses are coming alive in a new way. I feel like I spent so much time figuring out what the old way was, and that just the old way is the old way. And so to me, I think we got the warmth coming, and it seems the ground has leveled just a bit.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, the one-woman show. We've been in the studio last year recording. I don't know what they're going to be. In fact, I was just in the studio for something I recorded like a year ago, and which I didn't necessarily love at the time, and I heard it a year later, and I thought, well, damn, that's not too bad. In fact, that's really good. Now it's ready for some vocals.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
Yeah, so you do have some. So you got albums. You've got the one woman's show. It
There's
sounds
a
like
lot. It's
there's
just
so
I'll tell
much.
you, the flippers don't work the way they did, and now and so there's new flippers. and
Sister, I hear you. My
But I'm
flippers are
telling
in
you,
trouble.
Well, because it's just like any other story, whatever that was is now gone. And so I feel like for me as a creative, I'm starting to kind of open up a little more and go, well, there's the one-woman show.
But you know
There's
what? I got to tell you
music
something,
going.
though. As a fellow total hip replacement person, that is distracting. The pain and the just having something that doesn't work in your body is distracting. It takes a while to get past that. I mean,
It does.
Mine
By
was
the way, as a
huge, yeah.
fellow Piscean, at the top of the show, we were talking about where you should travel, and I've been going
yeah,
through the
because-
Discoverer blog.
Yeah,
Turns
yeah.
out Pisces, we go to Bora Bora.
That's
the best one of
supposedly
all.
A good place. This is
What, they got a little sandals resort there?
I have no idea what they're thinking is there. I don't care. I'm going.
It was
The
something that he
Discoverer
read at
blog.
the beginning, the
I love it.
Discoverer blog of where you should go in 2024 based on your astrological sign.
Bora Bora. Well, I'm going to go look
in.
that up.
Patrick McLaughlin, you coming to Bora Bora with us?
Who's paying?
Good answer. He's
Douglas Elliman Real Estate brings you the travels of...
They don't. That's just a joke.
all right.
Anyway, Inda, it's been great having you on. IndaEaton.com.
As
if
well.
people want to follow up and see what you're up to after
We'll
the
come back.
rapture.
If you'll have me back, I'd love to.
Always.
Yes, exactly.
Always, and I can't wait
Talk
to see
about
you
the new
in
show.
a exciting environment where we're toasting.
Well, this is exciting. We're going to dance because you've got Jim as Cat Ballou. That's a brilliant stroke, by the way.
Thank you.
No, because Jim is a party, and Jim's going to bring the energy up always. I've known that right away.
Oh, that's
Jim, what a
great.
perfect cue. Play her out. Inda,
Play
thank you
Inda
for joining
out.
us on AirHamptons.
I
you,
lived
guys.
in Wyoming, and I could write an album about that. But right now,
Nothing about Nebraska,
feeling
please.
miserable and low down. You're a musician, and you have to go out there and play and be happy. And you, next thing you know, you're happy, and the audience happy. And here's a song I wrote called "Go Positive." Little hand clapping on that.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening. That's Jim Turner. And we're clapping now. If you've just joined us, this is AirHamptons with Bill and Bridget, and one of our favorite guests is about to join us. Jim Turner is our one-man band. We've never called him Cat Ballou. Inda sort of branded him that, and I like it. A little later on in the show, Paul Giamatti tells us why he likes playing drunks, and Time Magazine has the top 10 drunkest holidays. As someone who survived Dry-U-Area, I want to hear all about that.
Yeah,
In the
I mean-
meantime, here
we
he
have
is.
Patrick McLaughlin from Hamptons Chatter, who looks confused. He's going to
You guys
lead.
have you're all punchy today. I'm like,
We're not-
I have cabin fever.
We
I'm like,
want
oh,
out of the
God.
cabin. We want
yeah.
out.
I mean, I have ideas, but man, you guys don't need me. You guys
No,
are all
we
punchy.
do. We do because
We
what-
always need you.
We've had Nanci LaGarenne talking about books, and we've had like the creative.
I
thing. We've
read
had
books.
I know. I didn't say you didn't, but we want to hear about cabins. I own log cabins in Costa Rica. He's going to say, "Oh, it's all about you, Bridget." Blah, blah, blah. But I have
it's
cabins.
all
I have
about you,
actual
Bridget.
cabins, and I have a fever.
Are
to
there?
be there.
This is a good question for Patrick. Are there any cabins left in the Hamptons? Haven't they all
There were a
been
couple.
torn down?
There were a couple in off of Noyak Road in North Haven and Noyak area, but
I think there's more on the North Fork. Like
Patrick
if you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
over
McLaughlin
to-
is a Douglas Elliman. You run the place, don't you? You're
Is his name
he's a
Douglas
real
Elliman?
estate-
I don't think
he's
so.
a-
no, but I'm his third cousin, once removed.
Okay, there
times
you
10.
go.
No, but all
that removal was painful, wasn't it?
But all that talk about rapture, why do I have Kirk Cameron going through my head?
Oh, right. I know. He's a convert, isn't he?
No, he does all those rapture movies.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you
There
know,
was a movie called The Rapture with.
Ellen Burstyn.
Oh,
No.
yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, there's maybe more than one.
Yeah.
Or there was one called you know who it was with the Rapture? Ooh, sorry.
Not Linda Fiorentino, but
No,
the other
Mimi
one.
Rogers.
Mimi Rogers,
Yeah.
right.
Mimi
and Mimi Rogers, a lot
Wait
of
a minute,
people
wait a minute.
don't know.
How did you get Mimi Rogers from Linda Fiorentino?
I don't know. I don't know. Are they
They're
all
both women.
Are they
Yeah,
both
they-
Scientologists? Mimi Rogers was. That's
married to
how
Tom Cruise.
Got into it.
Yeah, no, that's
Oh, really? Through her?
Told. Yes.
I didn't know that.
No, but those Rapture.
But we digress. That's what we do on the show.
Yes, we
so
do.
no cabins in the Hamptons.
No, not anymore.
Really?
I mean, they're all gone. Like I said, there are a couple in Noyak here and there, but not a whole heck of a lot. I don't think there's any on the market currently right now.
But every once in a while, I do look. I love looking through real estate listings. It's like my hobby, and I love. It always starts with like the 24 million. I'm like, yeah. No, get me down to the ones that are in the 800s. But there are some
Hey,
that.
how do you feel about Ronkonkoma?
I know exactly. Well, that's the thing. now. But
train
I'm
goes there.
I'm talking about. Shut up, both of you. But it's like I remember in the old days, I'd look at the bottom ones, and there were these like. Basically, they're probably now called teardowns, but I thought they were like cute little
Charming.
houses, like
Charming.
fisherman cottages.
Oh my God! Well,
know?
I mean, I've been selling for over 20 years out here.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, wait a minute. Dean Silvera, do you guys know what Aventura Motors is in Southampton?
I know
not
what
a
it is. I
sponsor.
passed by it on
He
my
said the
way.
most depressing thing that he ever did was he got a trade-in with like a Porsche or something, and he found a 10-year-old like Hampton's Guide to
like
Real
Homes and
Estate.
Land,
Oh.
And
yeah.
when you really go through like all the stuff that was under $1 million, what he said was the most depressing thing he'd ever seen.
Well, what were you going to say though? You were going to say
He
something.
beat me to the punch. That's kind of
Yeah.
it. It's like the numbers have just.
Yeah, but until you go through and see like, oh my God, that's on my block, and I could have like that.
I could have snatched it up for-
And listen, I will tell. I'm
Yeah.
not going to name addresses, but I remember looking at something in Bridgehampton, like a block from the ocean, and saying, "You know what? It's too deserted there during the winter." And
Oh, man.
I'm like, woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't. It's a story.
What was
Totally.
Jackie Mason's line? Every Jew knows a building. If they bought that building, they'd be rich today.
Listen, I always think of Lex Luthor and Superman. You know, people always need a place to live.
Yeah, they do. It's
Yeah.
true.
No subject
Is off the board here when we have Patrick McLaughlin on.
Yeah.
We can talk
We were
about
going to talk,
anything.
and then you guys were talking about hips before. I'm doing acupuncture for my hips. So.
Have you
Oh,
had
you
a hip
are?
replacement?
No, but I've been doing acupuncture because I do the Peloton every day. And my hips like bother me. There's a great guy named Kevin Menard who we had on the
we
weekend
had-
show.
we had him
owns
on the Weekend Live.
on Dragon Hemp in Sag Harbor. He's also an acupuncturist.
By the way, not
should
at
have him back
all.
on.
We should have him on because Mrs. McCuddy went to Dragon Hemp, and again, they're not a sponsor. I'm just mentioning it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what all these different tinctures do or all these different companies that have different mixtures, but whatever Dragon Hemp is doing is putting her to sleep every night. And she's tried all the gummies.
I thought it
and
was
all
your
that.
conversation,
Like, are you
Mr.
sure?
McCuddy.
Are you sure, Bill?
helps.
No,
I'm
but you know what? That's funny because my husband got me a gift from Dragon Hemp as well, just like a body lotion. It's really I had admired it like months and months and months ago, and he gave it to me. And it
Yeah,
was
she
so
put a
nice.
little on her back was bothering too. So she was
but you know
taking
what?
like a gummy and then, or whatever, I think it's drops.
Yeah.
Ooh, a
And then
gummy.
using.
I like gummies. That's
Yeah,
the
but
problem
some of
is
those aren't
I take all
good.
the gummies and then I have too much sugar in my body for bedtime, and then I'm awake. That's the problem. 'Cause I
If
take
you've
a
just
lot of
joined us, it's kind of a diary between me and Bridget. We just talk about what we do and we just pray to God
Just
that
have
you're
Total
interested.
ADD. My husband
Yeah.
is diabetic, and he has what they call a CGM, a constant glucose monitor.
Oh,
So
really?
if his glucose goes low, it beeps. So it's supposed to wake you up, so to have sugar, have some orange juice or whatever. So when he got this thing, we were sleeping. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. The thing goes off. Beep 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 beep.
Kidding.
And he said, I woke up and said, Siri, off.
Didn't work though.
It
By
didn't
the way,
work.
that technology, because I've seen what he wears now, has gotten way more sophisticated
Yeah.
and smaller. And
But it's only been
some
around
days
for
it's going to be
20
a chip.
years anyway. I
No,
mean,
the
before
CGM
that-
has only been around for less, actually.
But I mean, any
And it's
kind of
tiny.
monitor has really been around.
No,
only for like
but they've
20
been giant
Yeah,
monitors
I know.
in the
You'd
beginning,
be
and
hooked
now
up.
it's.
Before they used to be big pumps on your belt.
And before that, they just had to prick
their
themselves
fingers,
2 or
yeah.
3
Yeah,
times a day.
every
and
day,
right.
yeah. For
Yeah,
the,
and-
the
but
glucose monitor. That's amazing.
Since we're bringing him on that up, he was involved with the whole
Oh, the
documentary
movie
about this.
Pay or Die, yeah.
Pay
He
or
didn't get a
Die.
producer credit, but he was really instrumental in
What's
bringing
Pay
it.
or Die?
It's I think it's on Paramount Plus right now.
Oh, good.
And it's about the high cost of insulin, and apparently, like, because there's health insurance, things have changed drastically, but they can go back very quickly. It's a
Yeah.
very slippery slope. But a lot of people, their insurance weren't covering insulin, so they were
Right.
rationing it and ending up dead.
Yeah, totally.
And,
And
it's-
now we're out of Ozempic for people that would like to not get diabetes in the first place because people are
Using it as weight
using that
loss.
to lose weight.
But it's a really powerful film, and I watch it. It's
Yeah.
on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus.
Yeah. So if you have that
Exciting.
streaming service,
Petey was involved.
Pay or Dive. Yeah.
Is he?
Pay or
Does he
Die.
even get a special thanks at the end?
He
or
does.
kind
He
of
gets a
thing?
special thanks at the end.
Well, so listen. So it's your birthday month, you guys. What
Right.
what are some plans you might have?
Are we
Gonna
going to
go
get
to
out of the
McCuddy's
cabin?
house for
We get no. We're going to Bora Bora.
Oh, of course, because
kidding
that's
me?
where Pisces are supposed to go.
Which always reminds me of that bad movie with Mia Farrow called The Hurricane. Remember that? That was shot in Bora Bora.
Oh, I remember that.
it was
that
terrible.
You know,
That
that
was,
Raise a
you know why
Rappaport
that was
remake.
made there? Because Dino De Laurentiis had rented that property for another movie,
and he did like a two
he
off.
got a 2-off there.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so funny.
They
But
decided.
I miss movies that were like not great that you could go and see because they
Right.
were always like, remember when like Broadway had like 40 shows running on Broadway at the same time, and some of them were really not good. And The Hurricane is one of those movies that I like.
You don't have
went to
Hulu.
see.
Oh man,
I'm kidding.
you know what? I love bad movies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're so going off.
No,
But
no,
since
but
you're
it's
stuck
okay.
in the cabin, watch Supergirl. Horrible movie, but it's like it's a total train wreck with Helen Slater and
Oh, I
Faye
remember
Dunaway.
that.
Helen Slater. That's right. I was trying to think
That
of
was
that.
such a
Faye
fun
Dunaway. Oh, it's awful.
Okay,
It's
well, we
awful, but it's
definitely have to.
it's like a train wreck.
That is fantastic. Yeah, that's great. We need movies to get us through
Good
the
bad
cabin
movies.
fever.
So good, so bad they're good.
Yeah, like Mommy Dearest, like Faye Dunaway once again.
Oh yeah, Faye Dunaway and The Eyes of Laura Mars. I mean, come on.
That's a bad movie too. When she
Yeah.
plays a photographer, she sees murders.
Yeah,
and
she
stuff.
sees murders and
should-
stuff in the bird. That's
We
a
also
great
think
one.
of Michael Caine as a great actor, but there was a whole period in his life where he just made junk.
Really,
The
and
Island.
literally
The
said,
Island.
The
"Where
Island.
I'll go," and Jaws
Jaws the
3
Revenge.
this
Oh my
time.
God!
It's
But you know
Jaws
what else?
3D.
Personal.
Anthony Hopkins' Magic. Do you remember that movie?
That
Oh,
was
that's a
actually
good movie.
not a-
I like that
Okay,
movie.
well, I got to watch it again. I actually,
that
I love the
movie.
book. That's the
Abracadabra.
thing.
And Margaret is in
Yeah.
it. By the way, those who
Ads.
don't know, he was a ventriloquist, and he
Yes.
did a really good job.
And he was possessed by
Presto
his...
changeo, now he is me. Remember that the ad?
What
I
was
remember
it?
the
Corky.
ad.
Corky was the
Corky
name
was
of
the
was the puppet.
ventriloquist doll.
Geez, I can't believe we just took a walk down memory lane in the cabin fever.
For
that I
bad
did not-
movies, you remember them well. Except I disagree. I
enjoyed
think
them.
that's a good one.
Because they were good bad movies. They weren't
No,
like really bad.
worst Anthony Hopkins movie. How much? Oh, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But the one he did with Bo Derek and Shirley MacLaine. Did you ever
don't
see
know
that one?
it,
It's called
no.
Change of Seasons.
No.
It was Bo Derek's first movie after 10. It
Okay.
was so bad.
Okay, great.
It's a really bad movie.
Patrick McLaughlin, you've given us things to think about, which
But
I
stick
didn't
around
expect.
because let's talk about Time Magazine's top 10 drunkest holidays.
Oh, my goodness.
The reason I did
Stay and
this.
talk about this, Patrick.
Because
I'm
obviously,
Irish? Is
well,
that
no,
what you're saying?
St.
Yes,
Patrick's
no.
Day is on the list, obviously.
course.
But number one, it surprises me. It's Super Bowl Sunday. That's when we get the drunkest, apparently.
But because
Then
you're-
Mardi Gras, which should be the. I
Well,
mean,
they're both during cabin fever period.
Mardi
Halloween.
Gras, you're
How is
chanting it
Halloween
all in.
number 3? Halloween. You
about
getting the
candy.
kids drunk?
One
All
of
right.
one of our crew is like nodding his head
Derby
like,
Day
yeah.
and Purim. Purim?
Purim?
Yeah.
Manischewitz?
This is Time Magazine, top 10 drunkest
L'chaim,
holidays.
everybody. L'chaim.
This is all by way of setting up. We talked up at the top of the show about the holdovers, how much we like that. And did
a
you ever
great
have to
movie.
stay at a private school over the holidays because your parents wouldn't let you come home? Because that would have
You think I would?
that would have
private
driven
school?
that
look
might have driven you to drink.
to our
Anyway,
radio
Paul Giamatti,
listeners.
who I hope this month gets an Oscar for the holdovers.
Yes.
We had a chance to interview him and talk to him about how come he always plays drunk so well. He said he doesn't drink a tremendous amount in real life, but he does seem to get those parts. Take a listen.
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's a fun thing to do. It's an interesting thing to play physically and emotionally, and it's everything about it is interesting. It's like you're changed, and things change, and the physical aspect of it is fun. I don't know why I've done it so much because I've done it a lot. I did it on stage a lot. I would play when I did plays. I would frequently play the guy who drinks too much on stage, and I've done it in other movies too. It's not just Alexander's. I did a movie called Barney's Version where I play a really, I mean, worse than these two guys. A guy really blows his life apart by drinking too much. I don't know why it comes to me, but I definitely find it an interesting thing to play. It's fun in its perverse way to play it.
Thanks to our friends at Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter for that little interview. And we send them questions and they get to ask them for us.
Yeah.
This is tremendous. Hey, want to mention that you're somehow related to somebody who helped build
Yeah,
Canoe Place?
my husband, Eric Johnson, his grandfather was one of the, not like the architect, nothing that grand, but was like maybe the GC on Canoe Place when it went through a
In
renovation.
1697?
No. When it was in disrepair for a while, and I think it was like in the 1930s and 40s he rebuilt it. So the one that people remember.
Well, they had a
before
big
this
fire in
incarnation.
1921. And
Then
in fact,
that's when he rebuilt it.
Last
Were you there
month,
when it happened?
No. Last month, one of the front rows was about that.
Yes.
This month at
Canoe
Canoe
Place.
Place is A Cup of Joe. It's a monthly evening at Canoe Place with Joanne Heyman.
Oh, how wonderful.
March 7th, our birthday.
You're
Let's go to
We
Canoe Place
should
for our
go.
birthday.
Yes,
Can I come?
have a
I don't
feeling.
have
Totally,
a birthday.
totally.
Why don't you go instead of us?
No,
I'm sure we'll.
Okay,
I'll
so-
go and I'll treat.
So you were mentioning the Charlie Chaplin movie that was
Yes,
Gold Rush.
Gold Rush,
Where
yes.
he walks in and the guy pictures him as a chicken.
Yeah. Right. It's like a
I don't know
Bluto-looking
why, but
guy.
I recently saw that again. Anyway,
It's well
That's a
because
fun
we
movie.
have to keep those things alive. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a cabin fever movie.
That
Boy,
is a
they're-
cabin fever
That really
movie.
is. There's
Hey,
actually second.
next month we'll be talking about fooling people, probably in April, but also like it's starting to bloom. We're getting a little more hope. We're seeing like more little
Yeah, the days are getting longer and everything
Thank
is wonderful again. I know.
In the meantime, you've survived a bad case of cabin fever, and we've been your cruise directors. This is AirHamptons with Bridget and Bill. It's not just a show, it's a hostage situation, and you are about to be set free. Thanks to Canoe Place and to James Lane Post.
James Lane Post is also one of the sponsors, and I want to thank our guests, Nanci LaGarenne, Inda Eaton, Patrick McLaughlin, Paul Giamatti, and as always, Jim Turner.
The great
Play
Jim
us off,
Turner.
my friend.
Cool, play us out. The fever has broken.
Love you, Patrick. Love you, Billy.
Mention Bridget.
Bridget.
Oh, there you go. That was in the proper order.
No cabin fever gonna bring me down. I'm gonna sit back in the cabin and groove.
Happier, Patrick.
Help me out here, somebody.
Cabin
Proceeding
fever.
has been brought to you by Canoe Place Inn and Cottages. Fine hospitality in Hampton Bays since 1697. More at canoeplace.com.